See, yeah. So I need all of your email IDs. Okay. So I'll be sharing a Google contact form. Okay. So just fill that form and submit. Okay. So email IDs are mandatory because I'll be adding you to this GitHub repository. Okay. So this is where you can see all your like all the logic that you need. Okay. Uh, During Mule 3 to Mule 4 migration, I'll be sharing code for Mule 3. Okay, and while we work on Mule 4, I'll be sharing code for Mule 4 in this repository, the Mule 4 POCs. Okay, so here I already have a few like common like logic that can be used everywhere. Okay, I'll show how to use this. Okay, and how it is useful. So I'll have to. Okay, so you can create your own branch, work on it, and then check in the code, create pull requests. Okay, so that it will be useful for you. Okay, so the list of tools that you need to set up before we start is um, Anypoint Studio. Okay, so in order to set up Anypoint Studio, you should have JDK, Java JDK. Okay, not JRE. JRE is Java runtime environment, whereas JDK is mm, Java development kit. Okay, so you should set up environment variables. Okay, so then you need to have Apache Maven installed. Okay, I'll share the installation guide after this session. Okay, for this also you need to set up environment variables. Okay, okay. Second thing is GitHub for desktop. Okay, so you need to have GitHub desktop. GitHub desktop. Okay. The fourth is you need to have a database server installed. Okay, so that depends. Database server, either we can use cloud based database or local. Okay, anything would be fine. Okay, so fifth is we need to install MongoDB. Okay, so MongoDB also cloud or local, both are available. Okay, so you need to create accounts for that. Okay, so as in we see the bare minimum thing. So here we have
Hello.
is hello, hello.
Sorry, go on, go on.
Okay, see these three tools are mandatory. Okay, for learning. And these two tools, like whatever tools I'm going to explain forward, so those we need by the time we come to the topic. So I'll be informing you beforehand, okay, on how to create cloud accounts or how to install it in local. I'll be showing you that. Okay, sixth is we need JMS end system, which is ActiveMQ, like this. Okay, so it can be anything, ActiveMQ, RabbitMQ, anything is fine, but ActiveMQ is also okay. Seventh is we need Kafka. Okay, so Kafka I have kept it as optional because most of the clients use traditional ActiveMQ or RabbitMQ as a JMS end system for messaging purposes. Kafka is rare because Kafka is used to process big data. Like if you have huge information that needs to be transferred over messaging channel, so instead of using ActiveMQ or RabbitMQ, they use Kafka. Okay, so because it has enabled streaming, Kafka will be having enabled stream. Okay. Yeah, Mohammed.
Like any difference between this ActiveMQ and Anypoint MQ?
No difference. See, the core concepts are same. So that's why I mentioned it as JMS. Okay.
So that is also
JMS, yeah, JMS is architectural style. Okay, Java messaging service is an architectural style. Core concepts remain same. You will have queues, topics everywhere. Okay, and yeah, for queues you will have consumers, and for topics you will have subscribers. Concept is same, but provider, service provider will be different. ActiveMQ is basically provided by Apache. Anypoint MQ is provided by MuleSoft. End
Yeah.
of that, it's one and the same. Okay.
Same. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, Eighth, like let me put it here. 3A, 3B. 3A, you should have Postman. Okay. Then SOAP UI. Okay. So you need to have these development tools mandatorily. Okay, and these end systems we can increase going forward. Like we can set up a SFTP server, local SFTP server, and work on SFTP. Like I can give you SMTP configurations to work on emails. Okay, so I have already created one generic email which can be used by anyone. So I'll be sharing credentials for that email. Okay, so anyone can use it as a SMTP service and like learn how to send emails or how to use SMTP connector. Okay, so this list can increase. Okay, but this remains same. So these are mandatory tools that you need to have. Okay, so in MuleSoft, every client follows something called development lifecycle. Okay, so there are three phases mainly as per MuleSoft API development lifecycle, but clients they add one more layer in between, which is called test. Okay, so design, develop, test, and deploy. In design, we write RAML. Okay, so API specification. It can be done either in Design Center or in third-party tools like Swagger, like these kind of OS specification. Okay, so in develop, like we will learn about microservices. Okay, that means, for example, let's say if I have a use case. Okay, so let's say I have this cash pricing. Okay, it can be done by itself. Okay, so this is just what I do here. I just need to hit a web service and get some information. That's it. Okay, I don't have to write 3 layers of applications, but still I have written in 3 layers. Okay, so I'll explain why we have done like that. Okay, so that is about microservices, and we have something called framework. Okay, so framework is basically Mule project itself, but it is exported as a dependency jar for other projects. Okay, so that they don't have to repeat code that is commonly used. Okay, for example, let's say I have a log. Okay, so I need to log some information in a particular format. Okay, so only log message will change. Okay, but remaining everything, like all other metrics will remain same. Okay, so for that flow name, transaction ID, everything remains same. Okay, only this payload logging or the log message that I'm going to print, these things can change. Okay, so instead of repeating that code again and again in all the APIs, so what I have done is I have created a common Mule project and I have written all these flows here, and I'm using it as a dependency jar in other projects. Okay, so if you see here, so in order to use it, I just import that. Okay, so I just import the XMLs that I need from this jar file and then use it. Okay, so including error handling. Okay, error handling when you use API led connectivity. Okay, so in API led connectivity, what happens, you'll have 3 layers of application. Okay, experience layer, process layer, and system layer. Okay, so if any error happens here, you need to propagate that error back to experience layer in right format. Okay, for example, let's say in system layer you're trying to read a file in SFTP location. Okay, and when the client hits the experience layer URL, what system layer, process and system layer needs to do is system layer needs to fetch, read the file content, and then send it back to process layer in some raw format like XML or binary format. Okay, process layer needs to convert it into JSON or XML and then send it back to experience layer. Okay, while reading file from SFTP location, it has failed with connectivity error. Okay, so the HTTP status all are linked via HTTP protocol. Okay, so the nature of HTTP is your HTTP region might change. Okay, so your HTTP region might change as per standards if you are not setting it. Okay, for example, let's say here if it has failed with connectivity error, so what MuleSoft application by default will think is it's an internal server error. Okay, so it will send a 500 status code to process layer. So process layer will also understand in same format as a 500 internal server, and it will forward that same code back to express layer. Okay, so what client will read is read internal server error. Okay, so as a developer or as a support team or as a client, so you can never understand this message what is going wrong and or where. Okay, you need to pinpoint the exact location wrong. Okay, and then report it back to client. Okay, so that it will be clear from support perspective when there is issues. Okay, so here we need to propagate that error back to experience layer with exact message and exact status code. Okay, so that is also handled here. Okay, so that is also handled here. So I'll explain this logic in detail. Okay, how we need to do by debugging. Okay, so I'll explain the logic here what I'm doing here. Okay, so this will make sure that it will propagate that error back to client. Okay, appropriate client. Okay, so just a second, I'm stopping my screen share. So, yeah, so while in the process of learning error handling, you can learn how to use modules. Okay, how to build modules. See here, so during requirements gathering, you won't be aware of that you should build modules. Okay, no one will tell you to build modules. They just need work done, that's it. Okay, but in order to ease your work, ease your development work and make it faster, so you'll have to take few steps to generalize the logic. Okay, for example, let's say I want to print timestamp. Okay, in all my applications in my organization or in my project, I use same timestamp format. Okay, so I have written a function for that to get the timestamp. Okay, so few developers what they might do, they might set their own variable. Okay, or they just want current time, whatever it is the current time. Okay, so here what I'm doing, I'm trying to read the request timestamp. If that is not available, then I'm reading the current timestamp in this format. Okay, so this kind of thought process has to uh, come for you while you start developing. Okay, so the purpose of building modules is so that you can reutilize. So if I want to print payload function from anywhere, okay, all I need to do is I just need to import that module here in data view, and then call the functions belonging to that module here. Okay, so there are so many functions that you can write in modules. Okay, like comparing two strings or checking whether a string is present in an array or not. Okay, so everything you can write it as a common function. So I have only written few. You can extend further and check in the code so that I can review it. Okay, so we will be learning about modules as well. Okay, so with respect to layered architecture, so you need to know the purpose of using API led connectivity. Okay, so you need to know the error handling, so how you need to propagate the error back. Okay, and how you can generalize. Okay, uh, so these two are primary. Okay, so in API led connectivity, where you use experience, process and system layer. Okay, without these two things, there is no use of building these APIs. Okay, so that's why in development scope I have added microservices and framework and error handling. Okay, so these three are main focus in development. Okay, connectors and everything are different. Like in real-time project, you might be seeing the various types of connectors, and you'll be learning it. Okay, so again, in list of tools, we need a ELK stack. Okay, so Elasticsearch, Logstation, Kibana. So this is for logging. Okay, so basically, how logging works. So you'll have to install Kibana and Elasticsearch. Okay, so you can visualize your API metrics like here. So you can load your logs here. Okay, so there are different methods to load logs to Kibana using Elasticsearch. Okay, so the chain will be basically Elasticsearch is a NoSQL database. Okay, where you are store all your log information in JSON format. Okay, and Kibana is tagged to Elasticsearch. Okay, Kibana will automatically pull up information from Elasticsearch if you have index pattern mapped. Okay, so once log data is present in Elasticsearch, Kibana will be able to represent it in visualizations format. Okay, so you can draw your own visualizations. Okay, like gauge meter or pie chart, anything is possible. Okay, so see, these are the types of visualizations you can write. Okay, so I have set up the environment. As we proceed in the training, so I'll show you how each visualization is useful. Okay, so this is okay. So you should be aware of logging as well. Okay, so with respect to Postman, coming back to Postman, so if you have any URL that you want to hit, okay, and if you want to validate if the API call is successful or not, so you can specify test script. Okay, if a test script says, for example, let's say in this response, I want to check the result, either it's updated or rejected or deleted, anything like that. Okay, so for example, let's say if this call belongs to update API call. Okay, and I want to verify that uh, it has to in the response I should have the result tag, and the value of that result tag should be updated. Okay, so here you can set that. So here if I give updated and if I hit send, so in test results you can see that. Okay, sorry, I didn't say that. Okay, see here, so it will show either it is pass or not. Okay, so if I valid, like if I give another value and if I run again, so you can see that it is failed. Okay, expected outcome is updated, but it's checking for update. Okay, so that is how you can write test scripts in Postman. This is just sample. Okay, so in real time you will have to write complex test scripts. Okay, so most of the time you will have different testing team, separate testing team for this. So you don't have to write these test scripts, but in few cases you will end up doing everything by yourself. Starting like throughout the development life cycle, you will be the owner of that API. Okay, so you have to step into design discussions and write the API specification. You need to develop the code, you need to test it, and then you need to deploy. Okay, using CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so for CI/CD pipeline also, I'll be sharing the deployment guide with you. Okay, so which will be helpful for you to learn. Okay, so and the deployment guide looks like this. Okay, so you'll have different types of deployment using cloud, like how to deploy an API to Cloud Hub, how to deploy an API to runtime manager manually and as well as automated way. Okay, so what is Cloud Hub, what is vCore, everything will be there in this. Okay, so you just need to refer this document and follow the step-by-step guide. That's it. Okay, so what configurations you need to make in POM file. Okay, so all those things I have given, including POM file I have given. Okay, so here you need to configure the deployment configuration here. Okay, so you can configure either standalone deployment or Cloud Hub deployment. Okay, so I'll be giving this level of documentation. So apart from that, just make sure you have all these tools installed. Okay, so once you have all these tools, we can get started. So and I'll share the, if you share me email IDs, I'll share the form. So you just need to fill, or you can directly share the email IDs with me, so I can add you to this repository as collaborators.
Okay, I can collect in WhatsApp group and I can share that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I need all the email IDs
Yeah.
before we start.
Okay.
Okay. So and before we start, I'll send also I'll be sending daily emails. Okay. So with respect to update, like what we have covered today and what we are going to discuss tomorrow, and what I need additional information from you. So all those detail I'll be sharing in emails.
And you can add few more extra here, HTTPS configuration, that and all. So others will come.
Those are really basic configurations.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, those will be explained anyway. Okay, so we don't have to explicitly mention those. Okay, because see, in real time, HTTPS configuration, all these things are very basic configurations. Okay, apart from that, what you need to learn is how, like what are microservices in Mule. Okay, what is API led connectivity, what is the purpose of API led connectivity, how you can do error handling in API led connectivity, what is batch processing, how to handle errors in batch processing. Okay, so all those things are important and mandatory. If you go to any interview, what they'll ask is, there won't be any question and answers. Okay, if they are asking question and answers, that means he has not worked much, whoever is interviewing you. Okay, so it will be more like discussion. Okay, they'll ask you to share your experiences on how you worked in MuleSoft, what type of problem statements you have seen, and how you have solved it. Okay, so those kind of discussions will happen. So during that time, you should be in a stage to explain, like for example, let's say you have not worked on MuleSoft at all, but you are attending MuleSoft interview. Okay, so if you want to explain a new project, you should be able to create a like think of a project on the go. Okay, for example, let's say I am new to MuleSoft. If they ask me to work explain what I have worked on MuleSoft, I should take some example like Swiggy or Zomato or Dunzo. Like we have built APIs for Dunzo. Okay, so where we maintain catalog, so that catalog is maintained in MongoDB as well as SQL. So once customer loads the app, so we will get a API call to load all the catalogs. So we hit MongoDB, get the data, transform it in JSON format, and then send it back to client so that they can represent in UI. So you should be able to explain that project on the go like that. Okay, so for that you need core concepts strong. Okay, like connectors and all. uh, like my personal opinion is, connectors and all, you can just read docs.mulesoft.com documentation, and you should be able to configure it. But problem statement is something you really need to learn. Use cases are more important.
And you can list out batch processing, everything, so
Yeah,
that everyone will aware of this, so
yeah,
that I can share this
yeah,
Notepad plus to them.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Guys, do you have any other concept you want to know? You just tell him so that he can add in the
Yeah, so
content.
if you can tell me today, I can explain it tomorrow, like that. So you just need to inform me one day before. That's it. I'll
At
send
least
Can we integrate with IBM MQ instead of this ActiveMQ?
IBM NQ, it is licensed, right?
License, right? We can't
Yeah,
do that.
I'm not sure. But let's see, like if any of you have IBM MQN system from any of your clients or my clients, I can show.
Okay.
Yeah, but licensed products are hard to catch. That is the main problem.
Even SAP
Okay.
we can't
Yeah,
teach. That is
yeah.
also licensed.
SAP, I'll be able to show you the configuration. Okay, for example, say, let me drag that up.
Just configuration we can show, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
No, not only configuration, I can show you how it works. Okay, so I can show you what happens when you drag and drop document listener. I can show you what happens when you execute RFC. So those things I can show, but not live. Like I won't be able to hit a request and get response from SAP and system and then show it to you.
Yeah, but it's fine. Just explanation.
Yeah, explanation I'll give. Okay. So any other end systems that you want to learn?
How to set up cache?
Yeah, correct. So cache. So along with that, object store.
Object store.
Okay. So in object store, you can have store, retrieve,
Retrieve all keys.
invalidate. Okay. So then file-based integrations. It can be SFTP, anything. Okay. So then batch process. Okay. Then logging using ELK. Okay, external systems. I'll try to set up Splunk also. Okay, Splunk also I can show you. Okay. Seventh is deployments. For deployments, you need to have runtime installations knowledge. Okay, installations and configurations. For example, say I had worked for one of the client called JDA. Okay, so there developers had to they'll simply give a server box for us. Okay, they'll simply share a server with us. We have to install mule runtime in those servers and we need to deploy our applications there. Okay, so that was the case. So you should be aware of runtime installations and configurations. Okay. Along with that, you can learn CI/CD. Okay. So eighth, error handling. Okay, and most important, data view. Okay. So any other concepts that you want to learn? So instead of IBMQ, I'll simply write JMS. IBMQ or IBMQ or any point MQ. Okay. Okay. So any other integrations that you want to learn?
AWS.
Yeah, correct. AWS, we can spin off trial account
Server.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. In AWS, like we can learn SQS configuration because SQS is most commonly used. SQS, then
S3 bucket we can
yeah,
store.
correct. S3, SQS. These things we can learn easily. So I can show you a live project for AWS.
How the VPC works on BlueSoft.
Yeah. I can also show you SAP, correct. So I have a client, so I can show you SAP real time. Okay. SAP.
Salesforce, sir.
That is
Yeah.
common, right? Open source. Salesforce, then
Yeah.
MySQL.
Yeah. Salesforce. Okay. So these many integrations. Workday trial account won't be available. We need to check, like if it is available, we can, else it will be difficult.
ServiceNow.
ServiceNow, we have an account. But
Jira.
service now, see, problem is, see, service now, you should have slight knowledge on service now also. Okay, how tables are configured, how integrations in service now are configured. So those configurations you should be aware. At least you should have some slight knowledge. Okay, simply pushing data to ServiceNow is not a big deal. It is just a HTTP connector, because ServiceNow exposes a REST API. Okay, so that means you can hit ServiceNow from Postman also. Okay, so
No, but
if you
in interview they may ask you, right, how many interfaces you worked, so that they can answer this as well. So one straight answer for that.
no. See, interview purpose. See, interview is purely dynamic. Okay, so if you want to explain whatever client you are choosing, for example, let's say if you choose McDonald's, you cannot explain about ServiceNow because they don't use ServiceNow. Okay, they use ServiceNow only for as a ticketing tool. They don't use it for integrations purpose. Okay, so they mainly use it. They mainly use database, Salesforce, then SMTP. So only these things, and HTTP. Only these end systems they use. Apart from that, they won't use anything. They use S3 bucket also from AWS.
In which case we will use ServiceNow? Like if the process fails, the user get incident through ServiceNow.
No. See, ServiceNow integrations, how they work is, for example, let's say I worked for AB InBev. Okay.
Okay.
So in AB InBev, we had ServiceNow integration. Okay. So what AB InBev had done is earlier. So in AB InBev, I had worked on Workday also. Okay. So basically, in AB InBev, they had built their own employee management tool. Okay, which they call it as Click. Okay.
Okay.
That's a legacy tool. See, for Click, backend system is Salesforce.
Okay.
Okay. UI, like front end, UI is also built in Salesforce only. Okay.
Okay.
So they used to get information from SAP via MuleSoft.
Okay.
Okay. SAP via MuleSoft through RFC calls.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how their existing setup was. Okay.
Okay.
Now what they have done after they adopted Workday. Okay, they adopted Workday. Okay, so
Okay.
in Workday they have set up complete HR and organization related information. Okay, now they need to migrate all their information from Click and SAP to Workday. Okay,
Okay.
so here they used MuleSoft.
Okay.
Okay, so here they use MuleSoft as an integration tool. Okay. So here MuleSoft, what it does is it needs to query data from SAP as well as Salesforce, transform it into XML format. Okay. Workday exposes a SOAP web service.
Okay.
Okay. So using web service consumer, you need to push data to Workday.
Okay.
Okay, so that is how they had built integration like this. So here they use Salesforce, they use SAP, they use Workday. Okay, so Workday integrations, I think it is licensed. If there is any possibility to set up a trial account, we can work on that also.
Okay.
Yeah. So here, how they use ServiceNow is, okay. So for example, let's say in Workday you are facing some issue. You are not able to update your bank details. Okay, for salary credit. Okay, so you need to log a ticket. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are going to integrate Workday. Workday has its own issue log. Okay.
Okay.
Workday has its own issue log.
Okay.
Okay. So if you log an issue in Workday, what MuleSoft will do, it will query Workday for issues.
Okay.
And then it will send it to ServiceNow. Okay. So which is a table update.
Okay.
Okay, table update via ServiceNow web service, ServiceNow REST API.
Okay.
Okay, so basically from MuleSoft, it's a HTTP call. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, HTTPS call for service. Okay, one more thing is, see, in ServiceNow, for example, let's say if I want to log a ticket and assign it to some person, that particular person information should be available in ServiceNow, right? So
Yeah.
ServiceNow uses tables as backend. Okay, so you need to populate data to that table. So how we populate data to table is they have something called master data management.
Okay.
Okay, so for master data management, you need to populate master tables, okay, with employee information that is available in Workday. Okay,
Okay.
so what MuleSoft will do, this is a scheduler job basically. Okay,
Yeah.
so that means it will run every day. Okay, what the scheduler job does is it will query Workday, okay, via web service consumer, okay, build that response in JSON format, because Workday gives you XML output and ServiceNow needs JSON. It can't understand XML. Okay,
Okay.
so then you need to push that JSON to ServiceNow via HTTPS call.
Okay.
Okay, so that is how they use integrations for ServiceNow.
Okay.
Okay, so that means if you want to build ServiceNow, like if you want to work on ServiceNow integration, you should be aware how ServiceNow is configured.
Yeah. In our current project, like we are using ServiceNow just for logging the ticket. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
on the front end, we don't know what's happening in the back end.
yeah. Okay.
And Jira tool.
Okay. Yeah. So Jira, right?
Yes.
Jira, like what you want to learn in Jira, like how to integrate in Jira, like how?
No. We are assigning some story or theory, right?
Okay. Okay. So
That is there.
yeah, so that is fine. That is like that anyway. We can catch up during the assignments and all.
Yeah, you just mention over there,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that they'll.
So that's not big deal. Okay. So that is
Next.
part tools actually. Yeah. So any questions?
Net shoot.
That should, right? Okay. Net should. So then.
Guys, if you have any like other requirement, you just let him know.
Yeah, Jagdish, is the cron job and the scheduler jobs are same?
Same in the sense, same component that we use, okay, but configurations are different. For cron job, it's basically expression based, and scheduler is a fixed frequency. So that we do that in the same connect itself.
In
Same
which case we are going to use the cron job?
Cron job, let me check.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll explain. Okay.
So in
So
which scenario means, suppose if you want to run your application every second Saturday, something particular specific timing, you can go with that expression.
In the scheduler itself, we are scheduling a time, right?
That is also we can schedule, but suppose in scheduler, what will happen? We have hours, minutes, days, something, right?
Yes.
So you cannot specify exactly every second Saturday we need to run like that. Did we get that kind of option?
No.
No. In cron job, we'll get it.
Okay. So there is no data limit in that, like fetching the records. We just need to make it as an expression, then we'll go
no.
for the cron
Say
job.
limitations will be there. Limitations will be there for all integrations. Okay, but we need to design in such a way that beyond those limits, you should be able to process the data, either by increasing the processing time by enabling streaming, or by cutting off the data that you are taking in. Okay, so that will be there. So let's discuss during batch processing.
Okay.
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 Others, do you have any other something you want to learn new? You just update him. He can add in the list.
How many days this course will take? Like,
That depends upon, like, we actually designed for 30 hours.
Yeah, 30 hours
Okay.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah. That depends on like how you are going to practice. Like, depends.